Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be speaking to Emily Green today. Emily is the founder of Love Means Business, and this is a fabulous community that I myself am a part of.
Yes, I'm so happy you're part of it.
Yeah, so I really love it because Emily is here to talk to us about how to promote yourself and how to rise above the endless noise. And I know that for every author, it is like there's the struggle of writing your book, which is real. It's heartfelt and soul, evolving, transforming, deep work to write the book. And then you have to like completely switch modes. And you have
Yeah,
to go from introvert to extrovert, from like deep soul work to schmooze, 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 connect, connect. And you have to promote your book.
yeah.
Ooh, let me
It's a
tell you, it's a lot.
lot.
And it
Yeah.
is not easy. And as soon as you say that you are a published author, because I've been on the receiving end of this as well, you're going to get 1,000 people sliding into your DMs on Instagram and LinkedIn offering you all these opportunities to spend money. Like, I will help you promote your book. I will
Yep.
help you get Instagram followers. I'll help you get on stages, blah, blah, blah. You can easily spend thousands of dollars a month. And if you have thousands, if you have tens of thousands to spend, talk to me because that's a different road. But most of us don't.
Yeah.
And that's where Emily is here to save us. And Emily's a very acclaimed speaker herself. She's done TEDx's, she's done keynotes, and she's also helps you get media attention, speaking engagements, and just understand how to communicate your message. So thank you for being here, Emily.
Thank you so much for having me. And I can relate to the whole sliding in the inbox DM thing. That's what I don't know if it happens to all the TEDx people, but as soon as I was a TEDx speaker, that happens. It still happens to me. I get like daily spam, 3 to 5 messages of the same thing. And I would also say, even if you have the 10,000, still don't spend it probably on the people that are sliding in your DMs. Like do the research, but there are other opportunities. There's other things you can do. At least try those things before you just throw money at it, like crazy amounts of money at it, because unfortunately, there are a lot of people with not the best intentions in the marketing and promotion world. And I wish it wasn't like that. It makes me sad, but I've heard so many stories, and that is one of the reasons why I did start my community, is that I wanted to be an alternative, a safe, loving alternative for people that need to get that impact out there. They want to make an impact with their voice, whether it is through the book that they've published or it's through speaking. It's really those thought leaders. And one thing I will say, if you've written a book, then I'm going to assume, you know what they say about assuming, right? You probably shouldn't assume anything, but I'm going to assume you have really good stories. And I'm also going to assume you're pretty good at creating content, at least writing content. So you already have a leg up from a lot of other people as far as getting out of that, getting seen, getting noticed in this very oversaturated world. But like you mentioned, a lot of times authors, even speakers, I'm an introvert. People don't believe me, but I am. Sometimes they can't see the content, the amazing content gold that they have. And so I would say number one is try to step outside of your own bubble a little bit. Maybe ask your partner, ask a friend. It's one of the activities I do in my thought leadership program, is I have you really get in that circle of influence and really ask people, like, what sets you apart? What are some of those stories, those defining moment stories? What are some of the things you can share, maybe even little snippets from your book, that will help introduce people to who you are, the messaging that you have, and give them just a little tease enough that they want more. So
So
that
that is exactly, I was going to have you start to offer some like really practical
yeah,
advice to our listeners. And you already have. You've already given one very valuable piece of advice, which is
yeah.
sit down with someone who knows you well, a coach, a friend,
Yes.
a business partner, and ask them what's your secret sauce? What makes you
Yes.
special and different?
Yes. And I call it visibility or credibility trifecta. You can use either one of those words, but I talk about it a lot. And if you do these three things, they will snowball and they create like this ecosystem of getting you booked more, getting you seen more, and everyone can do them. You don't have to have any money to do it. You can do it yourself, or you can have someone else that helps you. But the first thing is podcasts. So getting on people's podcasts, like what I'm doing right now. So think about, the different target audiences, demographics you're trying to reach with your book, and create lists or whatever, like with some keywords for that. Like, let's say you wrote a book. Give me a topic. I'm trying to think of one on.
Well, we have a book by a um, motivational speaker, Saad Guled Sabri, because he's very public about having worked with
Yes.
us. And he's amazing because he immigrated from Somalia when he was 10, didn't speak a word of English, didn't come with his
Okay.
parents,
Yeah.
and completely like self-made entrepreneur with multiple successful companies. And now he does motivational speaking.
Okay.
And he specifically speaks a lot to immigrant communities to say like anything is possible.
So there's a couple keywords you said, like
Okay.
entrepreneur, leaders. I would say corporate executives probably that would hire, like, book him to speak at their different events. There are certain like niche organizations for immigrants, even immigrant leaders, immigrant, business owners. So you find those keywords and search for podcasts that fall into those keywords, and make a goal for yourself. Figure out how much time you actually have to do the interviews and all of that. You don't want to just do interviews to do interviews. You need to be strategic with it. But then maybe you say, I'm going to reach out to 3 to 5 of these a week so I can get booked for 1 to 2 a month, something like that. You're not going to get booked for every single one. So you have to kind of have a little bit of quantity, a little bit of wiggle room there. But podcasts are a great way to reach very niche, very targeted audiences that do not cost you a dime except for your time. So I just rhymed, dime for your time. Didn't mean to do that,
Time
but
for your time.
hey, there we go. So that would be definitely one way. And the other cool thing about podcasts is you're not just reaching the audience listening or watching. Just like we talked about, they're going to promote the crap out of that, or I was going to use a cuss word, but they're going to promote it on their social media. Most podcast hosts also are very connected, and they're usually very well connected in that target industry niche that you're trying to reach. So you might get a speaking engagement from that. You might, get booked to, I don't know, be on a different show from that. It all kind of leads to it, but it's never a bad idea to get more visibility in the area of expertise that you're trying to grow in. So podcasts are number one. Number two, leading into that, would be speaking engagements. So anyone, I don't care if you've never spoken before, can be a speaker, can get booked to speak. Everyone has to start from the bottom up. Like, you have to have your first speaking engagement at some point in your life, right? And again, if you're a writer, if you are good with words in that way, you should be able to naturally translate that into speaking if you can get over what we all have to get over as a speaker, which is that fear, the fear of, oh no, I'm going to forget my words, or oh no, I'm going to get whatever. Public speaking is a huge fear for a lot of people. But again, it is a way for you to get out of that oversaturated world and actually connect with people in person. There's nothing like that energy in a room when you're speaking, like at a conference, and then selling your book right out, you get off stage. There's not a better audience than you're going to
No,
find.
I always tell people, I'm like, that is going to
Yeah.
be your number one. People think like,
Yeah.
Amazon digital promotions, they think bookstores. And I'm like, no, no, no. The hottest spot to sell your book is after a speaking engagement.
Right
When
after you speak.
half your audience is going to go buy a copy,
Half.
especially if they can
Yeah.
get it signed by you and chat with you
Yes.
and
Yes.
have the personal connection.
Personal connection. And so when I owned my agency that I sold last year, so I don't own a marketing agency anymore, but we worked with a celebrity client, and he had a book, and he actually had us come sometimes to his events because there would be such a rush afterwards for him to sign books. he needed someone to help sell them. And we would actually collect leads too. And we would book speaking engagements while we were there, like at the table. And so that's the other thing, like, don't forget that this is like, it's not just selling your book, but you can also on the spot do it before they have time to rethink it, get those leads, get booked for other engagements. But he would sell, I mean, I think he sold like 250 books in
Oh
an
my
hour.
gosh.
Yeah, I'm not
And
exaggerating. Yeah.
and then also on top of that, and I'm sure this is true with many of the people in your community also, Emily, is most of the people, the reason that they want to be authors and speakers is
Yep.
that they are selling some service, which is coaching or consulting. So
Exactly.
you're also selling your coaching and consulting services.
1000%. Yes. So that's selling from stage, but also the when you're signing the book and they're talking to
Yeah.
you and they're, asking like, how can I work with you? You're you just there's not a better lead generator, in my opinion, for some of these types of services. I'm also really passionate about it because I started speaking to grow my marketing agency. That was my whole point of doing it. And it worked to the point where it turned into another revenue stream for me. So then you can also make money off that too, which is great.
Amazing. Okay. And then you said there were three pillars, right?
There's three. Okay, so there's
Okay.
those two, and you can kind of see how those intertwine a little bit. And then there's the media component, and people will be like, "Well, Emily, podcasts are media too." They are, but I separate them out because they have become their own kind of entity since COVID. They've really just taken on a whole nother life. Media, the rest of the media is kind of what you're probably traditionally thinking of. So like TV, radio, print, so many digital publications, those sort of things. But getting yourself published like in Forbes as a contributor or on having a media like in Medium, or you mentioned Substack. Like there's so many digital options now that you don't have to leave your house. Even you can just submit and you're going to be featured in, again, these industry very reputable different mediums that are going to make you seem even more credible. And that credibility, it just snowballs. So I cannot see enough how important that is. And then let's say somebody that's, I don't know, looking for speakers for a conference they're planning, and maybe they're searching online or something like that, and you got featured in, let's say, a Forbes article with a quote or something like that. And those keywords they're searching for, you pop up, and then they contact you to talk to you about speaking at their event. You never know. It helps. The more you can get out there, the more you can get affiliated with those keywords that you want to represent your brand, that you want to get booked for, the more likelihood that you're going to grow. So all of those three things. So speaking, podcast, media. That's the trifecta I always talk about that anyone can do with zero budget. If you have a little bit of budget, then you can join my community. Great, right? Or you can hire someone to
And
help you.
right. And tell us a little more about your community, like how much it costs and what you do for
Yeah.
people and yeah, what makes it such
So
a great situation for authors who are budget conscious.
yeah, so
Yeah.
right now it's $115 a year to join. And the value, I guess, not I guess, but the real value for it, in my opinion, is the 3 to 5 opportunities that are posted daily for speaking engagements and media and podcasts. Now, the number one question I get as soon as I say that is, do you post paid speaking engagements? And I don't know the exact percentage because I'm not a mathematician, but I do try to post most of the speaking engagements. I try to have them be paid. Sometimes it's very hard to tell, but I try my best to post mostly paid opportunities. That, to me, I've never seen that. So that was really important for me to be able to provide that type of opportunity for people, because I really believe speakers should be paid for their time. Yeah. And then we do monthly events. And we also are launching next month. We're going to be doing monthly or bi-monthly networking. So we'll have virtual networking opportunities. We can meet everyone. And that's also, if you're not sure if you want to join, you can be part of those if you're a non-member.
And tell us what the opportunities look like when you say like we have 2 to 3 opportunities a day. What does that mean?
So in the community, I have different spaces. We have a speaking opportunity space, a media opportunity space, and a podcast opportunity space. And let's just talk about the speaking for a minute. I post different conferences that are looking to fill speaker openings. So sometimes, like, I just posted a TEDx opportunity. A lot of people want to get on a TEDx stage. Awesome. If you're an author, it's another way to, again, immediately get your credibility up. Those are never paid, but they pay dividends. Let me just say they do. If you can get that and put that by your name. And then others are like industry specific. So, like you can speak at a women in trucking event, or you can speak at a healthcare event. There's any industry you can think of. There's a lactation conference I posted about that's paid, where they literally have people that are in the babies and in that space, and they want people who can talk about leadership. You don't necessarily have to be an expert in lactation, because I don't know how many people are, but you can be creative. I have been booked to speak at things. I have like zero industry experience, but they want you to talk about leadership, entrepreneurship, business growth, some of these topics that honestly transcend any industry. So I really look for all kinds of different types of industry conferences that want topics and want speakers that fit the type of leaders that are part of the group. So I post that daily, post a couple of those, and then also with podcasts. So I, find these great podcasts like for leadership and thought leaders. And sometimes I find niche ones too. And if I know there is a thought leader in the group that would benefit from it, I'll post it and I'll tag them in the comments. And then for media, I mostly focus on national media opportunities, but because I do know the locations of all the members, if I see a hyper local opportunity that fits a member, I will post that as well.
It's so fabulous. So help us with the next step, which is okay. So let's say I go on there, I join your
Yeah.
community. I see a speaking opportunity for women in trucking, but it's about the power of storytelling. I can somehow make
Yeah.
it about the power of storytelling. What do I do now? Like, what are the next steps? What's your advice for pitching the
Yeah.
podcast or the media or the speaking engagement?
And I think that's one of the scariest things for most people. I still get intimidated sometimes with the submission forms. They can be really, like, some of them are really long. They're all different. So, but most of them have certain components. So you need to have like a title, you need to have a description, and typically they want 500 or less characters, typically from what I've seen. And you need to have like, 3 to 5 objectives or learning, takeaways that people are going to get. All of that you can do through AI. Now, some people are like, don't use AI. They're like, I can't believe you'd say that, blah, blah, blah. But it is going to make it so much easier for you to fill these out. If you don't use that, it could take you hours, and there's no guarantee you'll get it. So what I would say is write in your own words. Like, you have your presentation, you have your book, you have all that those are your words that you've written from the heart. Feed that in, create a profile, and then have these presentations that you've done too. Feed those in. If you have a women in trucking event and they have a theme to it, use your prompts and have AI help you customize it for your pitching. You want to customize as much as possible to get booked for these different events.
Well, I'm the same in teaching authors these days because I have the
Yeah.
same policy. It's like we are going to use AI is going to make you infinitely more efficient, but you have to
Yep.
start with some stories and some words from your own voice and your own experience. Otherwise, it's just generic and you just sound like everybody else.
Right.
So yeah, I can imagine that AI would be super helpful with something like filling out 3 to 5 forms a week, right? I
So
mean,
helpful.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And is there a particular engine that you recommend for doing that? Is there a way that you've gone about it? Like, have you created a chatbot for yourself?
I use ChatGPT and I
Yeah.
have different sections for like the different types of things that I applied to and like my different presentation titles. But I would also say, like, depending on what your book is and the topics that you have one that's easy to customize, like you can get really niche down, but have one like mine is building unbreakable bonds. That title is super easy for me to customize and make industry specific with just a couple different words. Yeah.
All right. So tell us your story. I want to go back up and just start again. I mean, you give us a very high level, but how did you get into this and what's your key distinguishing special
Yeah.
sauce?
I mean, I started out in corporate. I worked for Target actually for like 3 years, and I was a manager for them. And then I got my first real marketing role with Simon Property Group. And I started in St. Louis, Missouri, which is where I'm from, and got promoted to Chicago, amazing city. And then I got promoted to Charlotte, North Carolina, which is where I'm at now, and learned so much. Being a mall marketing director might be one of the most fun jobs in the world. I mean, you get to work with like 200 plus retailers. If you love fashion and clothing, which I do, it's fabulous. I got to like put on fashion shows, and I got to lead, mall wide marketing meetings. And that's really where I really stepped into my, I guess, I don't want to say genius zone, but like where I knew for sure PR and public speaking and all of that. I loved it because I was the spokesperson for the malls. And when I was in St. Louis, I developed relationships so closely with the media that I actually had a weekly fashion segment that I was doing. And yeah, so
Amazing. That is so
I
cool.
learned so much, and I still am connected with that producer. But I learned how to pitch, like, and I would work with her every week on these crazy segments about like fanny pack fashion and every type of fashion you can imagine. But I still use some of the strategies and things like I learned in some of those like on camera pointers and things. Doing that every week, you just get so used to that. Um, and then when I was in Chicago, I represented the entire Chicagoland premium outlets. So I would go around and I would speak at all these like little markets around Chicago too. Um, and I started being used for mall openings. So I would train like marketing directors and help in like these different areas. So it was really fun. And after that, I worked for Northwood Retail, and I was their national sponsorship director. So I ended up creating that department and represented their portfolio of different properties. And then after that, I started my agency. So you can kind of see how I would get like really great experience that helps me be able to do like an actual agency I never worked for an agency before. So I still think that's kind of funny that I did that. Yeah.
I think that's a pretty non-conventional path. Yeah, I like it. But
Yeah.
clearly you have a lot of chutzpah and you have a lot of creative ideas and you made it
Yeah.
all work.
Yeah. I love the creative process and finding ways to grow and really like the innovation behind like the idea generation. And PR is all about it's all about connections, finding those connections, but also that creativity of pitching. And I always talk about when I was in Chicago, I had this idea I would always watch the news. I had Google alerts and all that. And I saw they were doing the 30-year reunion event for Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which was shot in Chicago, right? Like everyone knows that
Yep.
movie. Everyone loves
Classic
that movie.
scene.
Yeah.
Yep. The parade going down the streets of Chicago.
Yes.
Yep.
And they were putting on this huge event. And I was like, oh my gosh, how fun would that be if we did a like Ferris Bueller's Day inspired fashion segment? And so we pitched that and it got picked up by all the stations around. And I used like different looks from the retailers and it was so fun. It was just so fun. Um, but that's what I mean. Like find something that the media already wants to talk about, that people want to talk about already, and make your thing fit that. You don't what you don't want to do is what most people do. And they pitch like a commercial. They're like, well, I think what I do is great. I think it's interesting. So why won't Fox think it's interesting? I'm just gonna like send them my bio essentially. You don't want to do that. You want to find something again that's interesting, that's already going on, that they're going to want to talk about. Get booked for that. You can weave in with talking points things about yourself that will sell you without selling. You don't want it to seem like you're selling.
That
So
sounds a little complicated. That sounds like it would take some practice and maybe a little coaching from a
yeah.
professional like you to get really good at that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes and no. I mean, I guess I think it's, if you're an author, you're creative, you've got the creative mind. What I would say is that it's turning it would be focusing that creativity in a different way. But again, figuring out what are those key themes, and then maybe you set Google alerts for those keywords, and then check on that. What is trending that fits the themes of your book or the things that you're trying to grow? And that's how you pitch. You want to piggyback the same with social media. If you want to show up, you want to, grow with algorithms, you got to be doing what is trending, what people want to consume.
So what is your special sauce when you pitch speaking engagements? What
I
do you
mean,
pitch yourself on?
yeah, I think the big thing for me that tends to get me booked the most is that, I have definitely a reputation for leading with heart, I guess. And I guess, but yes, definitely leading with heart. So a heart centered approach. But I get booked a lot for building relationships. And that's why that building unbreakable bonds is one of my most successful things that I've done. I grew with my clients. I love growing together. And that was definitely a secret sauce for my agency. And it's something that I still believe in. I think that the key is focusing on those relationships, focusing on connection, not in a cliche way, not like, whatever, but practically. If you really, really focus on like this relationship we're forming right now, it's crazy when you actually do that and you don't just like half ass, sorry not to cuss, but like not really pay attention. When you really take the time to do that, how much more you get for yourself by actually listening and giving to others. So that's definitely one of my secret sauces. And I think I'm known for being extremely passionate for what I do and always making an impact. Like I always am looking for ways to make the world a little bit better in everything that I do.
I love that. What a good thing to be known for, Emily.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah. Do you have any stories that you could share of clients of yours or people who've joined your community?
Yeah, so I mean, I've worked with so many different types of clients. The one I mentioned, the celebrity one, I've done some pretty cool things with that client. Um, some others, I guess, beyond that, let me think. In the community, it's still pretty new. We're about 2.5 months in, but gosh, I have so many. Now I'm like struggling coming up with one. I almost need like a prompt. That's funny. Um, my biggest client I worked with through my agency was Kimco Realty. And that client, we did every marketing thing you can imagine with them. We worked in so many different states. We actually, my last thing with them was in Minnesota, and I got to create a campaign, like an advertising campaign from start to finish that included like influencers. We worked with a local celebrity. We did like a mall wide sale with them. So it was like an entire month series of events. And I even came up with like the design and everything for it. And that was really, really cool to be able to do like from concept to like execution. Every single part was really, really neat.
Fantastic. So you started out opening up by kind of saying, okay, sit down with someone you know and figure out,
Yeah.
what's your special sauce. What are your other like just very beginner tips for how somebody like very practical, how does an author who has no platform yet, where do you suggest that they start?
Well, I would say whether you hate social media or not, you need to be on it. Don't try to show up on every single platform. There's so many. Figure out what platform you enjoy the most. That's important because if you enjoy it, you're going to want to show up more, and that's going to show in your content and everything. But also, depending on your audience, really flush that out. Some people swear by TikTok, and it's not just a younger person, because I was like, I don't think I belong on TikTok. That's like for teenagers or whatever. But it's not. There is a lot of people that are adults that are on it, that are selling their products, their services on it. Figure out what platform makes the most sense for you and start there, definitely on social media. And you might say, oh, okay, Emily, that's great. How do I start? What do I do? That's a very in-depth conversation. I can't tell you exactly what content to post, but I would say try to post at least once a week. If you can do more than that, great. And again, focus on stories, focus on connecting emotionally, focus on things that people are already talking about or want to talk about that tie in with what you are an expert in. If you start from there, keep it personal. People want to see, they want to see who you are and what you do. That's why, like, I don't just post about my clients, or I don't just post about the things I'm working on. I post about my life too. And people can get very uncomfortable with that, but you can do that in a way where you still protect your privacy. But share things with people so they can connect with you. And that's a really good place to start.
That's great advice. What about in terms of speaking? You said like everybody can speak, even if you've never spoken. How do people get started there?
So I would say make sure you have at least one talk that you have figured out. So having a title, having that description, having some takeaways, preferably 2 to 3 talks, in my opinion, are best, but start with one. And you can use your book as a starting point for that. There's going to be content gold for speaking in that. So have that created. A speaker sheet, like a 1 or 2 page speaker sheet. When I say 2 page, I mean front and back. So have it on 1 page. Don't make it more than that. Having that is awesome. That's going to take you from just like a very, very beginner to seeming like you're much more established than you are. Create a speaker sheet. So you'll have, if you need help with that, let me know, but you can Google that. And there's lots of free things you can find to help you create that. That's going to help you with pitching. And then again, research different opportunities for finding leads to apply to. If you're interested, also set your parameters for like, are you interested in just talking locally? Are you open to travel? Like, you got to figure that part out too, because that's going to really kind of limit or open up your opportunities with that. And then set goals. Say like, I want to speak at however many events per month, and try to get those goals. I don't know about you, but I love meeting my goals. It's awesome.
Yeah. And I also tell people like, if you really feel like you're starting from zero, I completely agree with you. Like you need to be on some social media platform, even if it's LinkedIn, because LinkedIn has become kind of the professional
Sure.
social media, right? But people are going to look there to see if you've posted, right? Whether or not they're following you actively. I feel like it's like it used to be, oh, I'm going to lure people in through social media. Maybe not, but yet it's going to be one of the first places that people go to check up on you,
Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
that's why you need to kind of show that you're alive and kicking. And
Yes.
then in terms of speaking, I'm like, just do a local event.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're just getting started, right? Like go speak at a local Elks Club or school, high school, or, like you can start really on that local level. And it's
Yeah.
the same thing I tell authors for their books, by the way, Emily, is like no bookstore buys nationally anymore. That's a thing of the past. So, how do you get into bookstores? You go to them in person.
Mhm.
Guess what? It's a relationship business too.
It is. It's
You
yeah,
take a copy of your
absolutely.
book, you offer to do an author event, and you make a personal connection. But so much of it, even as we become more AI and more digital and more, automated, is really about the personal connections.
It is. And I think also what always keep in mind what's in it for the other person. So sometimes
That's great advice.
we forget and we're just like, well, I want to sell my book or I want to get booked for speaking or I want to do this or I. And we forget that the other person that you're trying to get to buy it or whatever, what do they actually need? So what is that value? If you can show the value to them, it's the same with pitching too. Pitching is all about showing the value of bringing you onto the show or the podcast. Never forget that. If you have that in mind, it's your percentage of getting booked, your percentage of sales is going to go up. It's crazy. But that's the biggest problem is we forget that and we get too self involved with it.
That is excellent, excellent advice. I love that. Yeah, it's so true. And even that goes for books too, because I say to people when you go to the bookstore, it's not just like, oh, please, please carry my book. It's like,
Yeah,
hey, can I do an author event for you?
right.
Because guess what? That's going to draw people into your
Yes.
store. Like,
Yes.
especially if I say I do an author event and I can guarantee you that I'm going to get 10 people there,
Yeah.
well, then you're doing a favor to them,
That's yeah, what you just said
you
absolutely.
know?
Like, yeah, beyond even just saying, like, then say have those talking points itemized out. Like, these are the specific things that it will help you with. Because just having a book, even though you've poured your heart and soul into it and you've spent God knows how many hours and all that, they don't really care. Like, they just don't. They care about their business, which is their baby. So how are you going to help their baby? They'll help your baby if you help their baby.
I love that. Do you have anything else that I haven't asked you about, like that you wanted to share about rising above the
Yeah,
noise?
I mean, I think the big thing beyond what I just said, because that honestly, if you don't hear anything else I said, like just hear that because that will help you with everything. But I think that stories, powerful, emotionally connected stories, are the biggest, best way beyond just, and that's how you form relationships too, is sharing stories. But doing that in a strategic way, that is going to help you rise above the noise. So identify those key stories within your overall book or story that you can use for your speaking, you can use for pitching, you can use on social media, and that alone is going to separate you from a lot of people, and it's fun. I don't know about you, but I love sharing stories. Like, it's really fun.
I agree. Like, I totally feel the same. And when I start to read someone's book, when they come to me with, like, oh, I've written 70,000 words and it's all written by ChatGPT and I can tell in like a page,
Yeah.
but it's like, it's so boring. And it's like, where the fun part is the stories, is
it,
exactly what you're saying. It's
it
like,
is.
but tell me about you. Tell me where you came from and why you chose this career. And,
Yeah.
tell me your what makes you you and what gives you like your particular angle. You may not have some piece of wisdom that nobody's ever thought of, and I mean chances are a million other people on the planet have thought of it with 8 billion people, but
Yeah.
like you have a particular way of saying it and a particular approach to it and a particular story that no one else has.
Yes, and they will connect with you. Like, I frequently will share this story about when I was in corporate marketing and I had a boss who just didn't like me. I mean, we've all had bosses that didn't like us, but I would get in trouble all the time, and she would like pull me in the office. And she was one time especially, she's like, Emily, you cannot be a philanthropist and a marketing director. We're only paying you to be a marketing director. So stop doing all this community like nonprofit stuff. But that particular instance was when I realized I had my spark, my idea to start my agency. So those kind of stories, like I was like, wait, I want to do both. I don't want to just be in one box. If I hadn't gotten in trouble, if I hadn't had that happen, I would have never got the idea to start Grace Communications, which was my business I sold. So I think it's those stories. Not only can they be funny, not only can people be like, oh yeah, I've had that too, I've gotten in trouble. It also gives people that maybe their aha moment and they're like, oh, well, I got in trouble for this too, or I did this or that. Maybe there's something there. Maybe that means I don't quite fit. Maybe that could spark my next thing. So I don't know. There's those little things like that. If you can identify them, they're so powerful.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your coming today and sharing your incredible wisdom. I'm going to let you tell everybody where to find you, but I want to give another personal plug here to say that I have joined Emily's community, Love Means Business, and I love it. She posts really good calls for guests on podcasts, on the media contributions. Sometimes it's a quote, or we're looking to talk to an
Mhm.
expert on such and such, and speaking opportunities every day. And if you are a DIYer, either
Yes.
you, because some people also I work with, they do have a budget, but they are DIYers by nature. If you're a
Right.
DIYer by nature, this is the community for you. You can
Yes.
spend way less money and have just as much impact by joining Emily's community and submitting a bunch of proposals and yourself. So,
Yeah.
Emily, tell us where to find you.
Well, you can find me. I am on pretty much all the socials. So you can look up Emily Green. You can go to emilygreen.com and find me there. Also, Love Means Business. I do have pages for that, but LinkedIn's really where I check the most. So look me up on there. I'd love to connect. You can also email me at emily@lovemeansbusiness.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. It was really a delight speaking with you.
Thanks for having the conversation. It was fun.
Excellent.